All right, I'm going to do another example today of identifying parts of the scientific method. Before I do that, you guys, several of you did not do the Mythbusters assignment. Several of you did it, but didn't get a very good grade and didn't retake it. So I've left that assignment open. I'm going to leave it open for a while. You can log on. You can redo that assignment. The videos have been posted several different places. I know the videos do not work inside the Google form, but I have attached them to the assignment and I have put them on the stream. So you can watch them in two different places. So make sure that you log back on, you redo the assignment, and you do it until you get a good grade. All right. So today we're going to look at another SpongeBob experiment here. Okay, and I'm going to have a little challenge for you guys at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and read. This one's called Slimotosis. So SpongeBob notices that his pal Gary is suffering from slimotosis, which occurs when the shell develops a nasty slime and gives off a horrible odor. His friend Patrick tells him that rubbing seaweed on the shell is the perfect cure, while Sandy says that drinking Dr. Kelp will be a better cure. SpongeBob decides to test this cure by rubbing Gary with seaweed for 1 week and having him drink Dr. Kelp after a week of treatment. Gary with seaweed for 1 week and having him drink Dr. Kelp, period. After a week of treatment, the slime is gone and Gary's shell smells better. All right, so let's talk about initial observation. What was the first thing that they noticed? What is the problem? Okay, that's where the scientific process starts. It starts with an observation that brings up a question. So the initial observation is Gary has slimotosis. So that brings up the question, what's the better cure for slimotosis? So first, step number one is the problem. So first step is problem. Again, you guys should be memorizing these steps in order, okay? So the problem is, what's the best cure for slimotosis? All right. Now, there's kind of two people, actually three people involved in this. There's SpongeBob who does the experiment, but we have two people who are coming up with hypotheses here. Okay, so we're going to skip step number 2, background research. And move straight to step number 3, hypothesis. Remember, hypothesis must be 3 things. It must be definite. So we have to be able to prove it right or wrong. So we shouldn't use words like might, maybe, could, or possibly. Second, it must be a statement. So grammatically, it must end in a period. And third, it must answer the question from step number 1. So what's the best cure for slimotosis? Well, Patrick says rubbing seaweed. So Patrick says, if we rub seaweed on the shell, then it will cure slimotosis. So Patrick says if we rub seaweed on the shell, then it will cure slimotosis. But Sandy says that drinking Dr. Kelp is a better cure. So Sandy's hypothesis. If we drink Dr. Kelp, then it will cure Slimotosis. So we have two hypotheses, and they're different, and both of them can be proven wrong. Obviously, somebody's going to be wrong, somebody's going to be right in this scenario. All right. So that brings us to step 4 in the scientific process, the experiment. All right, so let's look at SpongeBob's experiment here. SpongeBob decides to test this cure by rubbing Gary with seaweed for 1 week and having him drink Dr. Kelp. After a week of treatment, the slime is gone and Gary's shell smells better. All right, so I told you guys we should always think about how many test groups we have and how many times we're doing the experiment. Well, in this case, we should have 2 test groups, right? We should have Group A, and we'll say Group A should be getting seaweed treatment, and Group B should be getting Dr. Kelp treatment. So we have 2 groups. The one thing that's different about Group A and Group B is the treatment. So our independent variable is the treatment for Slimotosis. Again, the first part of our hypothesis is usually your independent variable. In this case, they're very specific about which independent variable. Patrick is saying the seaweed, that specific treatment, and Sandy is saying Dr. Kelp, that specific treatment. So the thing that's different for Group A and Group B is the treatment. Dependent variable. What are we going to count, measure, and calculate to see if our treatment is the same? Before we do that, let's talk about some controls. All right? So what are some of the things that we should keep the same for Group A and Group B? Well, probably the species of snail needs to stay the same, right? Probably the diet of the snails need to stay the same. The cleaning regimen of the snails needs to stay the same. So there's a lot of things for Group A and Group B we need to keep the same. The only thing that should be different, again, is our treatment. So, dependent variable. What are we going to count, measure, or calculate to see which treatment is working? Okay? So, after a week of treatment, the slime is gone and the shell smells better. So, there's 2 things here that SpongeBob is looking for. So, we could say there's 2 dependent variables. So we could say amount of slime, right? So we're looking how much slime is left over, how much slime is left versus how much slime is gone. So then a removed slime. So we're going to measure the amount of slime. We could say a measure amount of slime removed. Okay? And we're also going to measure smell. So we kind of have 2 dependent variables here. Okay? Now, here's where the challenge is going to come in. Okay? And anybody that emails me with the correct answer today, I'm going to give extra credit to. All right? What should SpongeBob's conclusion be? I'm going to tell you there is a problem with SpongeBob's experiment. Okay? So if you can tell me what SpongeBob's conclusion should be and what is wrong with his experiment, I'll give you extra credit. Okay? We'll talk about this in tomorrow's video. So we'll pick up right here. All right? But let's finish here. Let's talk about what step 5 would be. Step 5 would be analyze your results, which is what we're kind of doing right here. So SpongeBob should collect the information. He should measure the amount of slime that's been removed. He says the slime's all gone 100%. And smell. All right. Step 6, what should SpongeBob's conclusion be? Again, that's what we're doing right here. So analyze results, draw a conclusion. Who's right? Patrick or Sandy? Okay. And then step 7 would be share our results, which is what we're kind of doing right now. But I'm telling you, there's a problem with SpongeBob's experiment. So if you can tell me the problem with SpongeBob's experiment and what his conclusion should be, if you email me today, I'll give you extra credit if you get it right. All right? Again, the Mythbusters assignment. It was actually due yesterday. I'm going to leave it open. You need to go watch those videos and retake those assignments. Some of you guys are right on the borderline, like for an A or a B, or for a B or a C, or a D or an F. You need to make sure you take this and get a good grade. That way you're on the upper side of that line, okay? You can redo it multiple times. You can take it over and over and over again until you get a good grade, all right? You need to practice this stuff anyways. And then there's another assignment that's still open on quizzes, identifying parts of scientific method. There's 2 experiments kind of like this. You got to identify the different parts. That is due tomorrow, so make sure you get those 2 assignments done. Extra credit, SpongeBob's conclusion, all right? So you guys get to work. I'll be looking for your emails. Anybody gets it right, extra credit, okay?